With Russia invading Ukraine, we've seen various kinds of responses from the international community, and FIFA and UEFA released a joint statement explaining what they intend to do surrounding Russia, Russian clubs, and the Russian national team. Hey, I'm Adrian and welcome to this video that honestly I wish we didn't have to make, but unfortunately war is real and there are a ton of consequences of such, from the loss of human life to the loss of stupid stuff like where a Champions League final is to be played and who funds a competition. Will the people of Kiev get carpet bombed? But what about Spartak Moscow and their Europa League bid? But anyway, where those things meet is what we'll talk about in this video. The actions UEFA and FIFA have taken in response to Russia invading and bombing Ukraine. I mean, FIFA aren't keeping that same energy for other nations, those that bomb others consistently as well, but here we go. Strictly reporting now until I tell you when I am speculating at the end. We'll talk about the Champions League final, the Russian national team, and Russian clubs in European competitions. Sorry guys, but politics and sport will inevitably mix. It was announced a few days ago on February 26th that UEFA would move the Champions League final from St. Petersburg to the Stade de France in Paris. UEFA said, quote, "The UEFA Executive Committee today held an extraordinary meeting following the grave escalation of the security situation in Europe. The UEFA Executive Committee decided to relocate the final of the 21-22 UEFA Men's Champions League from St. Petersburg to Stade de France in Saint-Denis, Paris. The game will be played as initially scheduled on Saturday 28th of May at 9 Central European Time. UEFA wishes to express its thanks and appreciation to the French Republic President Emmanuel Macron for his personal support and commitment to have European club football's most prestigious game moved to France at a time of unparalleled crisis. Together with the French government, UEFA will fully support multi-stakeholder efforts to ensure the provision of rescue for football players and their families in Ukraine who face dire human suffering, destruction, and displacement." I mean, no real surprises there. Hosting a final in a country that is actively invading and bombing another one is, that's not the move. Russia, of course, were none too pleased. Alexander Dukov of the Russian Football Union and an executive of Gazprom, that's interesting, said, quote, "We believe that the decision to move the venue of the Champions League final was dictated by political reasons. The RFU has always adhered to the principle of sport is out of politics and thus cannot support this decision." Sport staying out of politics can happen to a certain degree, but it often gets to a point where action must be taken, and sport and politics mix. Gazprom is of course one of the familiar faces in European football. They adorned the kits of clubs such as Schalke, who recently cut ties with them as well, and they of course were massive sponsors of the Champions League with their name and brand plastered all over the ad boards on every Champions League night. And so on Monday, February 28th, UEFA finally dropped Gazprom as a sponsor following days of pressure from fans, political and sports commentators alike. As mentioned, the head of the Russian Football Union, Dukov, is also an executive on Gazprom's board, so he no doubt will be very, very unhappy with the repercussions of war brought onto him by Putin's decision-making. At least from a business standpoint. I won't assume to know where he stands politically. Moving the final from St. Petersburg, whom, by the way, their stadium is called the Gazprom Arena, coupled with dropping Gazprom as a partner to the competition, will come as an unsavory double blow for Gazprom. And UEFA said, quote, "UEFA has today decided to end its partnership with Gazprom across all competitions. The decision is effective immediately and covers all existing agreements, including the UEFA Champions League, UEFA national team competitions, and UEFA Euro 2024. So it's not a suspension, but a complete cutting of ties until 2024 at the very least." UEFA and FIFA released a joint announcement today where they doubled down on their initial measures that they were musing about that would have seen Russia play with, nondescript uniforms in a neutral venue, etc. Now they've reached this point. Quote, "FIFA and UEFA have today decided together that all Russian teams, whether national, representative teams, or club teams, shall be suspended from participation in both FIFA and UEFA competitions until further notice." These decisions were adopted today by the Bureau of the FIFA Council and the Executive Committee of UEFA, respectively the highest decision-making bodies of both institutions on such urgent matters. Football is fully united here and in full solidarity with all the people affected in Ukraine. Both presidents hope that the situation in Ukraine will improve significantly and rapidly so that football can again be a vector for unity and peace amongst people. So, Spartak is out of the Europa League, and the Russian national team has been booted from the 2022 World Cup qualifying playoffs. As of now, it's unclear who exactly could replace them in the playoffs. Could be Slovakia, could be Norway. We'll have to wait for more info on that front once a decision has been made, of course. But they're not really pulling any punches, all in an attempt to further the pressure that Russian oligarchs, and perhaps the people of Russia, will put on their warmongering leader. Why? Look, I'm a dumbass. I'm not a political, military, or economy expert, so feel free to completely skip this section of the video. Feel free to click away now if you only wanted the facts. No hard feelings at all. But a lot of people ask, why would they, FIFA and UEFA, do this? Why would the athletes have to suffer because of what Putin and his government are doing in Ukraine? It's not fair to them, is it? Well, first of all, it's also not fair that innocent civilians are getting bombed, if we want to talk about what's really fair. So the athletes are unfortunate collateral in this. It's a shame that it came to this, and I empathize with the athletes, but it's for the greater good, ultimately. But to be honest, and I don't know for sure, but if I was to speculate as to why they are doing this, I would say that it's another angle in which you can cause discontent, further discontent, I'm sure, amongst the people of Russia toward Putin. It's the same sort of thing that the international community is trying to do by cutting off the Russian oligarchs, removing Russia from the SWIFT banking system, Apple and Google Pay no longer working in Moscow. Basically, they're trying to contribute in any way possible to increasing the discontent toward Putin amongst the Russian people and oligarchs so that it reaches a fever pitch. Take Dukov and Gazprom and how unhappy they likely would be of these outcomes as an example. The NHL did the same thing, cutting all ties with Russian-based partners. They're trying to show Putin that there will be a consequence to war and invasion, and it doesn't just lay in the geopolitical realm or a loss of soldiers. Whether it's cutting their GDP by not buying oil from them, cutting them from international banking and other trade sanctions, or what have you, the hope is that it will lead to change. Are they futile attempts? Maybe. But just because the odds are stacked against you, should you just not try? Should you host competitions in a country that is firing missiles and carpet bombing another one? This, I think, is exactly what UEFA and FIFA are attempting to do. Will it work in contributing to isolating Putin further within Russia and ending the war? No, I doubt it will be the straw that broke the camel's back. That would be very, very otherworldly. But I assume, like all other sanctions against Russia, it's an attempt to cause anger within the country for Putin to lose even more support than he has already lost now that his war has denied athletes and the country of something that they love, football, and an attempt to contribute in whatever way possible toward peace. Will it make a huge difference? Probably not. But then what's the alternative? Should you just not try at all? Give up on trying to contribute just because it may not make a massive difference in the grand scheme of things? In the grand scheme of trying to stop a war? Should they sit on their hands, collect Gazprom money, and allow Russian teams to continue playing? Or try to contribute in some way, even if it could ultimately not make a massive difference? I don't know. I ask you guys that question. And by the way, don't confuse me for a FIFA apologist here. I know they are corrupt as hell. Just look at all the migrant workers dying in Qatar for this dirty 2022 World Cup. They also sat and watched as other countries have terrorized people in the Middle East, and there have been no repercussions for them. But just because they have done terrible things in the past or allowed them to happen or allowed it to happen without consequence, when they do something that could potentially help, you have to try to compartmentalize that a bit, at least in my opinion, and be happy that they actually did something. I'm not saying become a FIFA or UEFA stan. I'm not saying forget all of their hypocrisy. Not at all. I'm not that guy, pal. But you can take this for what it is, an attempt at doing good. And we need more attempts at doing good in this world, even if they are for morally bankrupt people. I don't know, I'm just sick of so much cynicism, man. I've had enough, to the point where I'm just happy to see people attempt to do good things. But anyways, guys, that's the news for today. Russia are out of international football competitions until further notice at both the club and national level. Who knows when the further notice will be? But if the reintroduction is triggered by the end of the war, then hopefully they'll be back soon. I'm Adrian. Thanks for watching this very different video, and we'll see you in the next one. Be safe.